You've got it tuned to KEXP at 90.3 FM in Seattle, streaming worldwide at kexp.org. I'm Cheryl Waters, down here in the KEXP studios with one of my favorite bands of all time. I'm tickled pink to welcome Jawbox to KEXP studios. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's so great to have you here, playing tonight here in Seattle at Numos. We're going to chat, which I'm really looking forward to, but you want to start us off with a couple of songs? Jawbox live on KEXP. So exciting to have you all here. Thank you so much for coming in.
Totally our pleasure. Thank you.
Our pleasure. This is
It's a
like
bucket list
item coming to KEXP for all of us.
Well, right back at you. So exciting that you're playing again. I mean, not to embarrass you, but you are an iconic band from the 90s and a soundtrack for so many people's lives, including mine. And I know you've been asked this question a million times by now, but what coalesced to make now the right time for this band to come back together? Because it's been over 20 years since you've toured as Jawbox, even though some of you have been playing music that whole time.
I think Zach made us. Yeah, it's pretty much Zach's fault.
Yes. Yes, I did.
Zach, what do you have to say about that?
Well, this is something that it hasn't not come up over the years that we should do this, but we didn't have. I think there was parenting, there was professional stuff, there was all kinds of other things to tend to, and we found the right time to do it. I think we've mostly been in touch with each other. There's been no acrimony, anything weird like that. So this was our year.
Yeah, and I think every year Jay or Zach has said, should we do it this year? And it's never worked out, and some reason this year was a yes.
I wouldn't say every year.
But the last...
I would say within the last, like... 5 years or so, the ideas come up again and again, and it's like...
Oh?
You know.
Okay.
And there's a point at which, like, if we keep putting it off, one, we're going to start to get too old and decrepit to be able to do it.
Oh, speak for yourself.
And I will.
You're not quite a lounge act, just sitting at this piano.
And then, you know, there's also a real concern that we might not have a country to tour in like 2020. So we're like, maybe we should do it in 2019 while it's all still intact, relatively.
And it sounds like Zach came with a pretty civilized plan where you could go out, do these weekend shows. In fact, you're about 1/3 of the way through the tour right now, and you've been doing it in little weekend stints. This West Coast is the longest that you'll be away, so that's a great way to do it. When you started rehearsing, had you told people that you were going to start playing shows? I mean, what was that feeling like when you went back in and started playing these songs?
I think first we needed to make sure that we could actually pull it off.
Yeah, we kind of kept it under pretty tight wraps, actually, for a while.
Yeah, our goal was to make sure that this didn't just become like the Jawbox talent review or us going through the motions. We wanted to make sure we sounded vital and we sounded like we were doing this for creative reasons. And in order to not manage or not set up everyone's expectations, we needed to just like keep it totally under wraps. So we were rehearsing for a good 6-7 months, maybe 6 months, yeah, before we went out with the announcement in January.
Yeah, trying to shake hands with our 20-something selves.
Yeah.
You know.
How did those first rehearsals go? What was the
little
progression
rough.
like?
Yeah, they're pretty nutty.
Well, let me
But
say
they were fun. They were
it
cool.
started with us practicing, I think, individually and trying to just relearn the songs. And for me, that some songs took 10 minutes to relearn, others took 3 weeks, chunking it out in little bits. And then when we came together, we practiced a few songs at a time that we had relearned.
It was very weird. To me, it was weird because, like, if I'm practicing Jawbox songs on my own, like, a lot of my parts are like...
right.
It's a little bit embarrassing. I gotta, like, go in the basement, you know.
So you'd been playing some of these Jawbox songs, Jay, but I'm curious how you chose which songs you were going to start practicing. Was it ones that seemed easiest or ones that were your favorites? Or
Yeah, well, it was really ones that were sort of... I mean, it was kind of by vote in a way. There's a bunch of them that we all agree we love, and then there are some that are outliers that we had to sort of wrangle into the fold.
Yeah, like our 20-something selves wrote a whole lot of songs, and a lot of those songs have actually stood up well, and some of them have not. And I think sometimes it took replaying them to recognize, like, wow, this song was really problematic when we wrote it, and now that we're reperforming it, we're seeing it for the flaws that just bothered us about how we arranged it or how we performed it before. And so those kind of got left on the cutting room floor pretty quickly.
But conversely, I think there's some that, like, speaking
Surprise
personally,
us.
I like more
Yeah.
than when we were a band.
yeah,
Well, we could just open with Grip, which is off our first record, which was recorded as a 3-piece with a different drummer. And in relearning that song, I wrote a whole new part. We wrote new backing vocals for it. We came up with a pretty starkly different arrangement from how it was originally recorded, and that was fun.
How does it feel as your not 20-something selves playing songs now that you wrote back then?
Surprisingly great. That's what's cool about it is like, it's kind of like meeting that person or that, meeting that moment in time kind of halfway and saying like, oh, well, that kid and those kids actually did some good stuff, instead of being like, getting older and sort of trying to leave your younger self and your follies behind. You can, now at this point, I think we can all go look at it and go, oh, well, then that's part of the point of the reunion of getting back together, is to kind of reclaim that stuff and say, actually, this really was worthwhile. This wasn't just like some weird stuff that that we did in our 20s. It was actually like we were proud of it, we were invested in it, and actually has some legs. It has some resonance for us now. And then also we can bring something new to it because of all the stuff that's happened in between. So it's been really rewarding.
Yeah, and the crowd reactions have been so warm and so positive that you get that from the audience. And I think before we played our first live show, I think I can speak for all of us, we were pretty apprehensive and a little nervous. And while I still feel that way before I play, and I think I always will, just seeing the joy in the audience has reinforced how great this is.
Yeah, I mean, you've always had the ability to harness the energy of punk and what people are feeling, and I think that was true when you were playing these songs in the 90s and true now. And every band has a chemistry that catalyzes into that band being that specific band. Are you able to put your finger on what these four musicians do or have to make Jawbox?
I think we've probably theorized about, we've probably all put a lot of thought into that question, but I think like if we could actually, I think we're in the middle of it too much to make it, to really sum it up.
Proclamation.
I know that it seems like you're having so much fun on this tour. Kim, you mentioned the crowds are responding as I would imagine and being so excited. And it sounds like in reading interviews that you've written a little bit of stuff. And does it seem like maybe there'll be a record, or what would it take to make you keep doing this?
We've jammed a little bit. Not the four of us haven't jammed, but individually, in small groups, some of us have played a little bit. But I think our whole focus is just to it's very much like a one step at a time thing. And the most important thing to us is really inhabit these songs and be present to do this thing. So we're going to sort of see what transpires when this is all done.
Well, it definitely seems like you're having fun just watching you do this today. And as I mentioned earlier, this is a band that's always given 110% live, and it's so fun to
I really
see you
do
play
want you
live.
to be my life coach.
I would so happily take that job on. Maybe we'll see you back touring on your new record, which is in rotation here at KEXP.
I would love that.
We would love that as well. I actually, last time I saw this band live, you were playing at a middle school here in Seattle that had never heard of a show being played there before. I think it was Meany Middle School. They're not open anymore, but it was a summer night. It was like 1,000 degrees in there. And I thought, what a unique thing. This band comes to town, plays a venue that never even had a live show before. I think you were in a gymnasium in a middle school. It was super fun.
Way uptown.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah, on Capitol Hill.
I'd forgotten that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Time travel.
Show.
Yeah.
It was a great show.
Zach
It was a
remembers
great
all of
show.
it somehow.
Well, tonight will be great as well. Jawbox is playing at Neumos, and many people are going to get a chance to see them as they crisscross. Well, not quite crisscross the country,
Doing
I'd
the
say.
coast.
Yeah,
The
doing
coast and a
the
little bit in the
coasts
middle, yeah.
for now. Thank you again so much for coming in. You got a couple more songs?
Yes, sure do.
Desert Sea, yeah.
To the desert sea, I don't wanna wait. I wanna leech my memory like bones. The desert sea, leached until no one can read their history. Now time from blind to the new starting line. memories. Now die, sunlight, to the new starting line. Now die, sunlight, to the new starting line. Broken casino road, broken sky, absolute. Die, sunlight, to the new starting line. Die, sunlight, to the new starting line. Take me down to the desert sea. I don't wanna wait. I wanna leach my memory like bones from the desert sea. Leached until no one can read their history.
Jawbox live on KEXP.
I got the message calling me back home. Don't ever let go. 6-foot deep hole. The passion cut so deep. 30 years of sleep, walking from a quarry to a wall. Rationalizing all compromises. The passion got so deep. 30 years of sleep, walking from a quarry to a wall. That passion cut so deep from 30 years of sleep, walking from a quarry to a wall. Now they try to keep it slipping piece by piece, in spite of our attempts at holding on.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you
very
all.
much.
Thank you.
You're listening to Jawbox live on KEXP, playing tonight at Neumos in Seattle, tomorrow night at the Wonder Ballroom in Portland. Again, super great to have you here.
Thank you.
Great to be
Sound
here.
great. You're listening to KEXP Seattle. Discover new music at listener-powered KEXP.org.